And to trending now, or what's trending when Twitter actually allows it to trend, when it doesn't actively kill a story like it has with the story about the computer from hell, the laptop of Hunter Biden, son of Democrat presidential candidate Joe Biden, with all those revealing emails about his dodgy deals in Ukraine and China. Now, it was interesting in last week's debate between Biden and Donald Trump. Many commentators said Biden won because he managed to hold it together. He didn't have, say, another senior moment like this one when his wife had to remind him who he was actually running against.
4 more years of Georgia, going to find ourselves in a position where if Trump gets elected, we're going to be in a different world.
Yes, Biden won that last week's debate, we were told, even though he'd finished by saying he'd closed down the US oil industry because of global warming.
Would you close down the oil industry?
By the way, I would transition from the oil industry, yes.
Oh,
I will
that's
transition.
A big statement.
It is a big statement.
And now the polls say this Biden's going to romp it in. Will be elected president next week, that quickly. Joining me is Daisy Cousens, a YouTube star with her own video channel. Is it true, Daisy, that Biden won the debate? Because I'm not sure if you consult Twitter, it will say yes.
Well, look, I reckon that everyone thinks their own favoured presidential candidate wins these debates. I mean, you know, confirmation bias, I think, is part of the human condition, and we all love hearing the issues that we care about articulated coherently by people that we like. I mean, there's no doubt about that. So I think the better way to look at it is which candidate lost the debate, you know, who potentially did the most damage to themselves. And I think in this instance, while both Joe Biden and Donald Trump were much improved from the first debate, you know, certainly there was no yelling and talking over each other, although I must admit I loved that first debate. I thought it was the most entertaining hour and a half of television I have seen all year, but this was a much more coherent discussion. Biden really damaged himself, I think, with a couple of the comments that he made. The first you mentioned, of course, which is where he admitted that he was going to transition away from the oil industry, which of course means destroy it. That's a lot of jobs, and I'm certainly worried the good people of Pennsylvania, where oil is a big part of the economy. And interestingly enough, straight after the debate, the phrase "can I change my vote" was trending on Google Trends higher than it has ever trended, and Pennsylvania was one of the top areas where it was trending. So certainly, same with New Mexico, you know, Oklahoma, those kind of states, he might have done some damage there. The second thing he damaged himself with was that Biden made himself look a fool on illegal immigration, an absolute fool. And that was because he painted it with that kind of rosy glow that leftists tend to, that it's families coming over the border, seeking a better life, which allowed Trump to drive home the terrible problem of people smugglers and human traffickers and coyotes and the reality of illegal immigration over the border, which the left continues to ignore because it doesn't suit the narrative. And the third thing he did, that Joe Biden did to damage himself, was tell what is literally the lie of the campaign, which is that he never said he was going to ban fracking, when in fact he's been caught many times on tape saying exactly that, which allowed Donald Trump to play all of those tapes on Twitter to his 87 million Twitter followers. So yes, while both were much improved, we all think our own candidates won. I think Joe Biden probably lost more points in that debate than he gained.
Except, of course, when you make a mistake, when you tell a lie like Biden does, have you told a lie if social media or if the mainstream media do not deign to call you on it? And they're running a protection racket for Biden. Now, I've been struck by the fact that so is Twitter and Facebook. And I just wonder, what is the role of social media in this election? Not just the banning, and the banning of stories about Hunter Biden's laptop and how it implicates Joe Biden in selling access for cash. I was actually struck by this finding from a Pew survey that 10% of Twitter users are responsible for 80% of all tweets. And of those Twitter users, 60% of those users lean left, which suggests a bombardment of propaganda from the left. What does it tell you?
Well, it tells us what conservatives have known for ages, which is that Twitter is not real life. Twitter is not an accurate reflection of public opinion. And yet over the last few years, so many left-wing political parties, I think, have viewed Twitter as if it is an accurate reflection of popular opinion. And again, you know, it's that confirmation bias. Twitter is a lefty safe space. They're left-wing political parties. They like it so because it makes them feel happy. They'll run with it. And so they've tailor-made their message really to cater to the giant lefty loonies on Twitter like it's an accurate reflection of real people. And as such, they've lost a number of important elections and left-wing causes. I mean, in Australia, Bill Shorten's Labor Party last year during the election tailored so much of their messaging to the climate change alarmists. He pushed identity politics. He said he was going to introduce a gender committee to cater for gender-fluid people. None of that's going to appeal to the people in central Queensland. And of course, he lost those seats. We saw it with the UK election at the end of last year. Jeremy Corbyn's Labor Party, they pushed the idea of socialism, which is very popular on Twitter. They lost in a landslide. We saw it with Brexit, and I'll tell you what, we absolutely saw it in 2016 with Hillary Clinton, whose entire election shtick was, I'm a woman, Trump's a misogynist, so vote for me or you're a misogynist. And look what happened there. She lost all those states that she expected to win. And until left-wing political parties realise this, they're likely going to keep losing these elections, which is why I have to commend Anthony Albanese. I think he's done such a terrific job with Labor over the last year and a half. He's really pulling the Labor Party back to the centre and back to its original messaging, which is all about the workers. And I think that is really good for democracy, Andrew, in Australia.
Well, I think that's right, but what disturbs me is so many news outlets are now taking what's trending on Twitter as what they should be catering to and base their news judgment on it. But I have to say, it also exposes a lot of journalists themselves who are on Twitter. The tweets of the ABC staff, for instance, they sure lean left. You've had two in particular get in trouble in last week. ABC 7:30 political editor Laura Tingle last week tweeted the Morrison government's responsible for ideological bastardry, and the Prime Minister was smug. And the ABC's Queensland correspondent has now accused the Queensland Liberal National Party leader of racist dog whistling at its worst, she tweeted, by wanting a crackdown on crime. Now, both those tweets have been taken down, but boy, oh boy, you know, it's so revealing, isn't it?
It's completely revealing, Andrew, and the thing is, that's what Twitter does. That's what it brings out of people, unfortunately. I've always said nobody is their best self in 280 characters. There is only room on Twitter for these hot takes, and of course, many of them are perhaps, you know, tweeted after dinner. Maybe you've had a glass of wine or two, and you're a little bit more lucid in your thoughts. You've got this tiny little space to have a hot take. You pop it out, and then, of course, there's this instant gratification of likes and retweets and people you've never heard of commenting on it and giving you affirmation. It's extremely easy to slip up like that, and certainly in the case of the ABC, which has an obligation to be impartial, which we know it fails at miserably. Certainly these reporters can slip up like that, and it's a little bit embarrassing for them that they've had to have their tweets taken down after the slip up.
No, I think it is. Well, look, I think this might explain why ABC News chief Gavin Morris helped explain in an online chat session allegedly said the ABC should spend less time on the concerns of the inner city elites and more time on the things that matter to central Queensland. I think they need to ground themselves in reality, which in fact is what Sky News tries to do every single day. And I have to say, in a word, Daisy, we're out of time. Is he right or wrong?
He's absolutely right, Andrew, for all the reasons that Sky News continues to say.
Good on you, Daisy Cousens. Thank you so much for your time.